Good evening and welcome to the program, The Desk on Global Television. Time for us to look at things from global perspective and also be looking at issues making the rounds in Nigeria and the sub-national level. My name is Anthony Momodu. Welcome to today's edition of the program, The Desk. We'll be taking our searchlight to a fellow West African country, Ghana, where it held its presidential and parliamentary elections over the weekend, with Mahatma being declared the winner of that presidential elections, with the results for the parliamentary elections also coming through, with the National Democratic Congress emerging victorious with winning 185 seats from the available 276 plus seats. And I'll also be looking at issues making the rounds on as regards the Afe Babalola's saga with Faratimi, who was brought to court in handcuffs, which elicited lots of angry reactions from Nigerians, saying it's not a criminal case. Why was he brought into the courtroom in handcuffs? So we'll be looking at these and other issues making the rounds on today's edition of the program, The Desk. We'll go for a quick break. Hopefully we'll be joined from Accra, Ghana, where we've got Ibrahim Hassan, who works with Star FM and one of the biggest media houses in Accra, Ghana, to join us, give us a clue to how the elections panned out in Ghana and the lessons learned and also the expectations of Ghanaians as regards the historic re-election of the man, Mahatma, who was once the president, coming back the second time, just like the 45th and 47th president of the United States of America, talking about Donald Trump. And I've also got my guest in the studio that I will be introducing after we return from this break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back from the break. It's now time for us to hit into the discuss button. Like I told you, we're starting from Ghana, where the Ghana 2024 parliamentary and presidential election has gone by with the NDC and the National Democratic Congress winning majority of the parliament, securing 185 seats. The majority threshold in Ghana's parliament is 100, and 39 seats. And that's where we're beginning from, as the General Secretary of the party, in the person of Fifi Kwete, announced the figure on Sunday during a press briefing. It is expected that the Electoral Commission of Ghana will officially announce the results soon. The elections were held in 276 constituencies across the country on Saturday. Kwete described his NDC's victory as a green wave, noting that the party had one seat it had never previously secured in a competitive election. The count showed that 185 seats with the NDC, and that's showing victory for them. Meanwhile, the ruling party's candidate, who conceded defeat, congratulated the opposition in the person of Mahama. Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia, who is also the candidate of the New Patriotic Party, had earlier conceded defeat during the press briefing. He also stated that the NDC is projected to secure majority of the parliament. The majority threshold in the parliament is 139. Former President John Mahama is expected to address a press conference, which he must have done already, giving you details coming from Ghana. Hopefully, we'll be joined by Ibrahim Hassan from the Star FM in Accra, Ghana, who's going to be joining us via Zoom to give us update as regards the elections and the lessons learned, and also the expectations of Ghanaians with the coming back of John Mahama, who was one time the president of Ghana. All right, so that's where we're going to begin our discussion. And while we're waiting for Ibrahim Hassan to join us from Accra, Ghana, I've got in the live studios Olugbenga George, who is a diplomatic aide and also a journalist right here in the Federal Capital Territory, to help us look at some of these very interesting talking points. Olugbenga George, welcome back from Ondo State. You're looking Ondo in nature. How was the experience in Ondo State? I hear it was sunny with lots of heat, and with the other notes also plenty for you guys.
Ondo was an interesting place, and it's good to be here. Good evening, and good evening, Nigerians and viewers at home. It's great to be here. Ondo is almost in the past now, except that the new governor, or the incumbent governor, has not been officially sworn in for a second term. The process, begs for many questions, as it is traditional, of the normal Nigerian political system. So all of the events that were reported, some are true, some are overinflated, and for me, as an observer, in that election process, I think it exposes, the weakness of some of the candidates in the opposition, and their seriousness. At some point, I was almost going to say, can we just already have a two-party system already? Because that is what it looks like when it comes to campaigning vigorously to win that election. You saw even the incumbents campaign much more than people who were supposed to be out there. You could go around the state and count the banners, and all of that of some of the candidates who do not really have as much popularity as you would expect.
Do you think they were intimidated by his access to funds and state power?
There is no intimidation. By privilege, I was able to relate with some of these candidates, and I was able to, read their temperature in terms of how they understand and how they engage the political process. And I'll tell you, without mincing words, that some of our politicians still have a lot to learn. Yes, somebody has said before that it is like learning the act of criminality, where you learn the normal Nigeria political system. But the truth of the matter is that it's a game, and every game has its own rules. I want to believe that every person that is going to come, if you are going to play differently, if you are going to set your own rules, then you have to also win your own people. You have to go the extra mile. I want to say that some of the candidates did not do as much as is expected of a candidate who intends to win elections. Don't ask me about the
Or was it deliberate, or they didn't just have the financial power or the expertise?
Sometimes, a lot of time, whenever we hear issues of politics, the first thing that comes to mind is money. and the allegation, that the incumbent, bribed his way through, becomes doubtful for me, especially when you look at the fact that we have 18 local governments in Ondo State, and the entire state, he swept the entire state. And some of these candidates whom I witnessed, in their polling units, lost in their polling units. So my question has been, if the governor actually bribed everybody, would he bribe the people, your brothers and sisters in your polling unit as well? We have some of the candidates who didn't score more than 2, in their own polling unit of over 700 people. So are you telling me that the incumbent also came there, bribed your brothers, your uncles, your cousins, and all of those people too? I think those things beg for questioning. And my summation is that a lot of politicians who are interested in politics have a whole lot more to do when it comes to engaging with the people. It's the normal tradition. Some of them stay far away from home, and they only show up when it's time for election. And staying far away from home, takes you farther away from the people. You have to be in their face, and they have to continue to feel your impact, somehow, all through. In terms of engagement, they have to continue to engage. They have to continue to critique, positively, or just find a way to be relevant amongst the people. The state is a wide state, is a very wide place, and we had thousands, of polling units across about almost 3,933. So all of this. Some of them I also found out they don't even prepare in terms of basics like preparing your party agents who would actually defend the votes. If perhaps or peradventure something fishy is about to happen. Some of them did not pay these polling agents. They didn't pay them. And if you do not pay your polling agents, how do you even defend the integrity of what you have done, of the hard work that you have put into place? So, and that is why I said a lot of our politicians need a lot to learn. Maybe you are not bribing anybody. Maybe you want to correct the system, but it is traditional that you pay your party agent your polling agent for them to be able to have their eyes, on the election result in that polling unit. And I think before anyone even dares to go out there to say I want to contest, those are the mathematics that you should have done. And you should have talked to your sponsors, talked to your supporters. We have this and we need to take care of this. So I do not accept, that some people say they don't have money. You come to the table, that means you're not ready. Those things are basic.
All right, let's get to the talk of Ghana now. We've got the NDC, the National Democratic Congress, sweeping the polls, 185 out of 206 seats in the parliament, and also John Mahama, former president, returning just like Donald Trump. For them, they say it's a green wave, it's positive for them. For you, do you think Ghana is retrogressing with the reinvent? Coming back of John Mahama, or it's the way to go?
Well, when you say retrogressing, I wonder what
the
people of Ghana, would.
So we're hoping we're going to get Hassan.
But I think generally, globally, there is a new shift. With the example you just gave, that's talking about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, who was castigated, who was abused, and all of that. And even throughout the campaigning season, you would also have expected that it would be a flawless victory for the Democratic Party.
There's a Kamala Harris
and her team. But it was pretty unfortunate that even a few hours into the election, it was already becoming clear that Trump was going to win. And that tells you how the voters, actually think. A lot of people, politicians feel that they do certain things, or that the game is already skewed in certain ways, especially when they're in power. But it's a different ball game from, the people who actually cast these votes. The question is, what do they look at that makes them vote for people? For Ghana, from my study, I've realized some of them said it's a runaway idea, that in the past 8 years that that the party, that the Democratic Party had lost that say. It's been a runaway of inflation of policies. What they expected the John Kufuor and his party to do, he didn't live up to it, and they were just looking for the opportunity to say, Mister, if you are not going to do what we want, get out. And there's a proverb in Yoruba that says that if a woman or if a person, yes, if a woman especially, does not marry two husbands, that she will not know which one is best. So I think it's for me, it's progressive for us to have political parties, different ones coming per time. We test their policies.
And for them winning in areas and seats and constituencies where before they never did win. That truly shows the people believe in them.
Yes, the people believe in them. Plus the fact that there's also something with democracy. We used to think that it was a Nigerian thing, but now we see that it's a global thing. Democracy is a global phenomenon. So in America, you also have the Republicans, taking over the Senate. You also have the Republicans taking over the House of Representatives. And then you now have the same thing in Ghana. So it inadvertently means that somehow, once the president is in the lead, the people also do not want to be far away from the president. They also want to queue in that line. And that's why some time ago I was soliciting that the election of president in a democratic setting should come first. Should come
last. Okay.
So that if the president is elected last, the people who really have this popularity, they can test their popularity, because sometimes you just realize that people just go one way. It is mono-directional. Okay, the president is winning, let's vote his party, let's vote the supporters. And some of those people who didn't even prepare as much, or who didn't
just go the win.
They just follow the popularity wave, and they're in power, they're in the seat of power. But I think it's a progress, for democracy. It's a progress for multi-party democracy, and I am hoping that we can expand on that, we can build on that across the globe, and especially in Africa.
Right, before we leave Ghana, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has said that Ghana has learned from Nigeria, and the Ghanaian democratic process is getting better. They are learning how to have credible elections. Do you think Nigeria is having any impact or influence on Ghanaians' democratic journey? Because also lately, you won't forget the fact that former President Goodluck Jonathan has been in Ghana as a statesman, observer, and playing key roles. Do you think there's some bit of influence?
Absolutely. If you look through the entire Gulf of Africa and every place where you have former President Goodluck Jonathan go to observe elections, the question is, what made him that person? What qualified him to be that person that appears in those places? Because he was seen as a hero of peace and by extension, and hero of democracy. Somebody who gave up power, without too much struggle. And that, for everyone, is a classic example. So if you say, as Nigeria influenced how Africa and other African nations, practice democracy, we would say yes, because we have seen a president who had the power, who had the wherewithal, to say, I'm not going to back down now. But he backed down, and he became a shining example for every other person in Africa. Yes, we are having military incursions in some African states, and that tells us that there is a whole lot more that needs to be done, and which also reflects the fact that our copycat democracy needs to be readdressed in terms of now finding our own idea and ideology of democracy. Because recently also, I tried to look at the American system of democracy, and I realized that is what Africa, that is what Nigeria especially practices verbatim. They have the National Assembly, the upper chamber, the lower chamber, we have the same thing, they have the presidency, we have the same thing. And yet, governance is working in that place. I mean, the people can actually enjoy the benefits of governance, of democracy. But is it the same thing here? So the question is, the multiplicity of ethnicity in Nigeria, has thrown a lot of shades into the correctness of our political system. Hence, I think it would have been best for us to sit back, and Africa especially. I'm not talking only about Nigeria now. It is important, for Africa to look back at what is called democracy, and then redefine it to suit, its own culture, its own ethnicity, and, reflect the difference, that is Africa apart from the rest of the world.
But don't you think there's corruption that is making our own democracy not be like the ones in the developed world, and not necessarily that we need to customize it to fit us? No. Because it's the corruption that makes that ticks all the wrong boxes of democracy.
What makes corruption thrive in Africa? What makes corruption thrive? So there is a system that we have created, which we call this political system. And once it is created, I mean, people just plug into it. It's a template. People learn the ropes. People learn what it takes to cheat in elections. They learn they learn all sorts of rubbish. And once they learn it, they only come to practice it. And the system endorses them because the system is also a product, of the structure that has been set. So we are saying that if democracy is going to improve, is going to get better in Africa, in Nigeria, then we have to look at it from, because corruption is also a culture, So can we say in dealing with corruption, do we need a cultural approach to that? And that's why I'm saying that we need to define our own democracy, decide what it looks like, not the copycat. For example, maybe we are rich in untapped resources, but we are a poor nation. In terms of practicality, we go out borrowing every other time. So, we borrow to even fund our budgets, every year. And it has continued to increase year after year after year. Before the 2023 election and during the campaign seasons, we were talking about production from consumption to production. And we are saying that Nigeria is a consuming country and we need to move into production. One would have expected that with the new administration in power, we are talking about production, that production has increased. How much has increased in terms of foreign exchange? How much do we now earn apart from crude? How much do we earn from mineral resources? How much do we earn from agricultural resources? How much do we earn from gold, from solid minerals? How much do we earn from our human development, human exports? How much do we earn? So we need to increase our capacity. And that is why I keep saying that we need to redefine what we call our democracy in such a way that it suits us. It suits the kind of resources that we have. We not just borrow something that is expensive for us to maintain.
Okay, on the final note on the Ghana polls, we saw the opposition come out to concede defeat. We saw the vice president come out concede defeat even before John Mahama, came out, or before he was even declared the winner. Is that something Nigeria can learn from the Ghanaian electoral body in terms of the fact that coalition was still ongoing, but it was seamless and it was obvious the winning pattern, and we saw opposition parties not try to already saying they're going to court already. Rather, they're admitting, knowing that yes, they lost the polls instead of. But if it was in Nigeria, we'd be hearing they're going to court. They're already throwing shades.
My brother, the truth of the matter is, all of the politicians that we have currently, they graduated from the same classroom. So because they graduated from the same classroom, they know the lessons they learned along the line. And they know that by every sense of correctness, whoever won, probably did not follow a particular due process that should be. So, and they would have wished, truthfully, I know I might be knocked for this, but the truth is, some of them would have wished that they are also able to use that same system to get to power. Because what matters in a country like Nigeria is ability to handle power. What people do when they get that power, we cannot tell. But it is clear, it is obvious that what the average Nigerian politician wants is to get to power. And what they do with the power that we have seen is self-aggrandizing purposes. Nothing has been much, of development. Nothing has been much of the people. Nothing has been much of the masses who voted them to power. It has been an enrichment, an enlargement, of opulence, and the people who live within the realm of opulence, of power, of the elite, is an increase, of the livelihood of the elite whenever there is a political victory. And it is so sad because if it only happened at the executive level, at the presidential level, then there would have been a revolt across the state. But it is a copycat system. So once it happens at the federal level, the states also copy the same thing, and the governors become so powerful. We have a powerful president and very powerful governors. So all of them are executives. And what does that tell you? When will the people now benefit from the system? So they will continue to complain. They will continue to disagree with themselves until we are able to fix our structure. And it's a reflection of the fact, really, that all of these people know that our system needs overhaul. It needs to be reconfigured. to fit in. It needs to be configured to open up the room, for more transparency, for accountability, and that's lacking in our system. Also, in terms of comparison as well,
with the Ghanaian polls, right?
Yes, you also see that the Ghanaian people are very involved in this process. They are very, very, very involved. When you talk about the number of people who went to the polls, unlike us here in Nigeria, we are interested, especially in Nigeria, we are interested with politicking, we are interested with the campaigns. Some wear t-shirts, some of them is
where the money.
Some people is their Twitter warriors and all the warriors that they had, social media warriors. Where it comes to, most of them do not even have, they don't have permanent voter cards. So we need to move away from that, and I think that's the lesson we can learn, that we need to participate in real time. So if you are going to talk about your preferred candidate on social media, you must have ensured that you have your permanent voter card, and that is your tool to fight, and that you are correctly informing people. I also see a trend where people take, because of the trend of making money and all of that right now, people just go on social media to spread fake news and malign people. They go ahead to do all sorts of things. It was funny, especially during the 2023 presidency. You would just see people concoct certain videos of things that had happened about 10 years ago, just because they wanted to favor someone and disfavor someone. We should desist from that. That will continue to throw our democracy into the doldrums. We need to come out of it. We need to embrace global best practices and ensure that what is done in other climes that makes democracy work is what is also done back here in Nigeria.
All right, well said. Talking about the Ghanaian polls 2024, and congratulations to John Mahama, who emerged the winner of the National Democratic Congress. All right, we'll go for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be going to Ado-Ekiti, where it's Afe Babalola versus Faro TB, and it's getting messier, even though the latest news tells us they've granted him bail of 50 million naira, but there's some other sticking points we'll be looking at after this break. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back here from that break. It's now time for us to hit into the next discussion on our desk. This evening, we're looking at the defamation row between Afe Babalola and Dele Faroti, talking about Farotimi, as the Federal High Court in Adokiti this evening, today, granted him bail of 50 million naira. But the big question is, why did they bring in the activists to court in handcuffs, knowing fully well that this case is not an armed robbery case or murder case? Do you think they're going overboard, the Nigerian police and also the judiciary, because it affects one of their, will I say, prized assets?
Maybe I should jump right into it,
yeah,
by asking you, why is it the big question? Why is the fact that Dele Farotimi came into court in handcuffs, why is that the biggest question in this matter? Why are people not reflecting on the defamation allegations? Have people actually picked that book to read, to the detail, the things that were written? And why have people not asked questions? If Dele Farotimi, like Chief Afe Babalola requested, had evidence to some of the allegations, to all of the allegations that he laid against the Learned Silk. I mean, that is where I would have liked to come in from. The challenge that I have with us Nigerians is that first, we like, the bandwagon thing. We like to go everywhere, the same direction, that seems popular. And you also see that people like to take advantage of this kind of cases to gain popularity. The issue of Dele Farotimi is not the only person, that has been charged with a libel in the country.
The talk was the manner in which the Nigerian police force arrested him, took him from Lagos.
Can I ask you a question? How would they have arrested him? How does police arrest somebody? And what is special about Dele Farotimi?
They said he was arrested like he was a thief. He was kidnapped. That he was kidnapped.
Right? See, Tony.
Is he supposed to be kidnapped?
I don't understand what you mean by kidnap. I do not understand. Was he arrested? Was he called in? Was he face masked? Was he blindfolded? Was he led to? Was he not aware that he was going into detention? I mean, that he was being arrested or accosted by the Nigerian police?
Another key question was, why wasn't he? The issue played out in Lagos. Why take him to a different state? The book, he wrote the book and it was unveiled in Lagos, not in Adokiti. Why take him to where to Afe Babalola was?
That book wasn't just unveiled.
But is that the question is?
Been unveiled since. But so what happened?
The question is, why take him to where Afe Babalola resides? Is that to give him an unfair advantage or what? Why that?
Where is Farotimi from?
That's he's based in Lagos. And the alleged crime of defamation was.
There was no location for that crime, sir.
So why was it out of place? Was it out of place to do it in Lagos?
Because
that already gave an unfair advantage.
I don't know what you mean by unfair advantage.
Because Afe Babalola holds sway in
Adokiti.
That's what you're doing right now.
I'm not. I'm only saying that let us be fair and let us face facts.
Let's be fair to the over direction.
To everyone, not to one side.
So being fair to Farotimi, how you being fair to him?
I understand that there is an ongoing war, internal war.
Was it right to handcuff him?
And the rich in Nigeria.
Okay.
And whenever someone seems to be more powerful, people just tilt toward the other person automatically, because there is an internal war, and that is an opportunity for Nigerians to vent their anger, to vent their displeasure. So I understand that, but can we be objective for once, please? If there is a matter, did the law say that it cannot be tried somewhere? Or let's not also forget that Afe Babalola that we are talking about is a 95-year-old man. So you expect the old man to carry himself and come to Lagos and be jogging. He has earned privileges, and we must respect that. He has paid his dues in the legal profession. He has spent over 50 years as a lawyer in the country. He's one of the most revered legal luminaries in this country. Thank God, Jennifer Rotimi is also a lawyer. If he wasn't one, maybe I would have said, okay. And they are saying, how did he handcuff his colleagues? Did he commit a crime? Those are the questions that I expect us to be asking.
Is a crime what's being in handcuffs? That's the question.
What crime? What
was it? Did it mean that Farotimi was going to run or escape if they didn't handcuff him?
Was there a defamation? Was there a reason to arrest
defamation
him?
Does not call for handcuff. That's what we're saying.
People are. I don't understand. I don't understand this case. I have been handcuffed.
You understand this case?
Honestly, I've been handcuffed before. I did not do anything. I was just standing by the roadside. And it was in the night. I was almost stranded. My phone was off. I was trying to locate someone. And I could not get the person. The police accosted me here in this Abuja. And they said, where am I going? And before I could explain, they put me in their project.
Was that right?
Did I commit a crime?
No, but was that right?
I'm saying it is
no,
not
but was
right.
it right?
Obviously, if he was right, I wouldn't be talking about it like this.
Okay,
so I am saying, I didn't, there was no crime, there was no allegation against me. It was just that the police
found you,
felt that they could take advantage of me because my phone was off, I could not reach anyone.
Don't you think that what's played out in this case?
So I am saying that it is no special. Okay. I slept in cell that night. Before I could charge my phone, before I could call a lawyer or call someone to come reach me, I mean, I top slap. Do you understand? In the cell. So, we're all Nigerians. It is a monster that we have created. And that is why the conversation we were having about fixing Nigeria, you know, is real. It is not just something political. And you know, I want us, you know, to remove our Nigerians are too emotional about issues, and we must remove our emotions from reality. We must face realities. If you say somebody committed a crime, we should look at the base of that crime. Did he not? Have you taken time, Tony, to actually pick that book to read? I forced myself. I had to read it. From
what you read, from what can you give us a line of what you read?
Don't tell me to.
No.
I did not crime his words.
No, you didn't. No. A summary.
Well, basically, there are all the things that Afebabula said that Afebabula is alleging him for, that he's charging him for.
No, what did Farotimi
say? That the man is corrupt and that he has aided corruption in the judicial system in this country. And he made references to cases, you know, in the past. You know, influencing the Supreme Court, influencing decisions and all of that. And much as it is an allegation, you know, he has to have proof.
Good.
You must allege,
proof. He has the burden of proof. Quite all right, but shouldn't the Nigerian police force give him that chance to prove rather than the way he's been treated already?
How was he supposed to prove? But he was supposed to move freely so that they could prove him that he has done wrong. He has the burden of proof, right? If you want to prove something, you don't have to go all the way. You can stay where you are. The proofs will go there. I mean, the system is organized. He has a lawyer that speaks for him, even though he's a lawyer himself. So to get proof, all those ones, he doesn't have to be allowed to roam free. If you know that somebody like Afebabula is after him, like every other person, will he not escape?
But we're aware the judiciary is corrupt. Do we agree? The National Bureau of Statistics have given us reports alleging.
If we want to address the issue of Nigeria judiciary's corruption, we should not just narrow it down to this one case or this allegation that Afebabula has done no wrong. As far as I'm concerned, that's actually my plea. I'm like, why are we so emotional about issues? Somebody said, you did me wrong. Let the person prove that he did not do that. Let's not tie one case to another case to another case, and then we start making examples, and we start sending the wrong messages down the spine of many people or many Nigerians who are not informed. It is not like that. It doesn't always work like that. And Nigerians, we must teach ourselves, because nobody else will teach us, to say that let us be dispassionate about certain issues, which we don't need sentiment. Did it happen? Did he commit a crime? Is he in court? did the court make the wrong judgment? Are they not looking at the substance
How,
of the
how do you think this is going to play out on the final note in terms of
He has been granted bail.
bail? Yes.
And you were talking about body of proof.
Yes, body of
perhaps
proof.
The essence of his bail is for him to be able to
prove.
pursue his proof. Yes. So if he doesn't, I mean, we will all be watching to see whether even the judiciary can actually has tooth and can bite. We will actually see that because maybe they just made a force of
But
the entire story.
the fact that he made references to the cases where Babalola aided corruption and influencing of church, doesn't that show enough proof? Why don't the judiciary, the Nigerian police force, investigate those references to see if there were truth within those, rather than just one swoop?
Well, if we were to correct judiciary, we will not use a daily Parotimi versus Afe Babalola case. We know that it is a structural matter. We know is Afe Babalola, is he the last person that has had a case within the Nigerian system? I feel that it should be a total overhaul. We should not use one man to as a case study and use that one to pass an entire judgment. Last year, we had people who talk about how the judiciary is corrupt, not in my country, and we do not even look at the after effect of some of these things. I mean, these are serious decisions, and they reflect negatively on the image of our country. And much as we can continue to condemn and blame, we are also victims. We are also culprits in the same game. Will somebody have opportunity? Let the Nigerian come here and tell me that will have a criminal case or whatever and have any form of influence and will not dare to use that influence to set himself free. Let that person come here and say and tell me that he will not do it, and then I will know that we'll give him the hero of our time. The truth of the matter is that we need to fix our system. We need to fix our institutions so that they are strong enough, so that they are powerful enough. They can punish and they can set free. And it's not just the judicial institution alone. It is every institution. We are talking about the policing and the security system. We know how terrible the security situation of our country is. We just spoke about corruption, and we are narrowing it down to judiciary. But can you and me ask ourselves, how does corruption affect me and you on a daily basis? Who is not? Are we involved? Are we saying that we are totally free? It is a mindset. It is a consciousness. The average Nigerian sleeps and breathes corruption every day. And for that to be corrected, we need to change that the air we breathe in. That's what I'm saying. We need to change it through effective laws. We need to change it through effective institutions, intentionally building strong institutions that are independent of high and mighty men. And that's what we are doing. But I will not accept that only with one person's case, because we're always looking for that next case, for that next one person that all of us can hop on and plug in our teeth and plug in our claws and all of that. We need to detach and desist from that and face realities when it needs to be faced.
All right, well said. We'll be watching closely the Afe Babalola and Farotimi's case and see how it's going to pan out in the coming days and weeks, and how it might be the game changer we need to change or turn around the massive fortunes of the judiciary and the Nigerian police force, because a lot of people have said the Nigerian police force have also played to the gallery in terms of this particular case, but we'll be looking at it closely. All right, as we wrap up the program, let's just to give you a quick reminder that we've got the Olayide's committee talking about the tax reform bill, and he has named 10 benefits for the country. For you, do you think the federal government is trying really hard enough to probably sensitize Nigerians, the 6 geopolitical zones, the northern region specifically, as to the advantages of this new tax reform bill, rather than a section of the country seeing it from a negative perspective, but probably seeing the good in this bill and how key it is? Sheikh Gumi, respected Ahmed Sheikh Gumi, has said this tax bill is of good for the nation.
Well, I'm glad that in the north, where the major opposition comes from, we've had governors, who stood up to say it's a no-no for the tax reform bill. And we've also, I'm glad that in the same place, we also have the likes of Sheikh Gumi, who comes out to say, well, this tax reform bill is a good thing. But the most important is you're asking me if there has been enough information across the stakeholders, if there is enough stakeholder dialogue and engagement, to check the virality of this bill. And I think that is the major question. So, according to, every day when you log on to one news platform or the other, I believe there is one information or the other about, this tax reform bill. Every time there is something about tax reform that continues to go on. So if we are saying the tax reform bill at the moment, if you are saying, is it something that we should embrace? Is it something that we need? Well, I guess the answer is yes. And for me, I will just go straight. So, having looked at some of the things that were stated there, it is simply saying that let us restructure Nigeria in a tactical way. That's what it means for me. It is restructuring reintroduced. And who didn't call for restructuring in Nigeria? Who didn't ask that we needed to restructure this country? Who didn't say that we needed to restructure the country? The fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did not come out to say, well, I'm restructuring Nigeria. The fact that he didn't come out to say, but major issues, that have been pinpointed, for restructuring are the issues that are addressed in the tax reform bill. I think it's naturally. I thought that every person would just embrace it. I didn't know that it would even have any opposition. However, when it comes to stakeholder dialogue and engagement, I believe that the government can do more. Bring all the stakeholders, the traditional institution, the local councils, across the country and across the state.
All right.
Everybody can come on board.
All right.
And,
I think this is where we're going to call it a wrap. Time not our friend. Just to let you know that one of the good things is that those earning below $1 million will not be taxed, and also we've got a zero VAT on food, health, education, electricity generation, and transmission. Those key issues. Some of the benefits. Time not our friend, but that's just to give a clue. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to delve into this and help sensitize Nigerians more as regards the benefits of the new tax reform bill. I want to say a big thank you to my guest in the live studios, Olugbenga George, who is a diplomatic aide and a journalist. Thank you for helping us look at all these tough talking points on the desk. And we're very sorry we were not able to join Ibrahim Hassan couldn't join us from Accra, Ghana. Hopefully tomorrow he will join us to give us clue as to what's playing out in Ghana. All right, my name is Anthony Momodu saying thank you for joining me on the desk on the Monday edition. Let's do this again tomorrow. Good evening.